Hey, what's going on, guys? This is Lurkin from Mobalytics, and today I'm going to be going over all the unique changes and how they're going to affect Sorcerer, what items look good, what items look bad, some ballpark napkin math of estimates of how much better they are. And I've already started working on all my new builds for Season 5. If you go to Mobalytics tier list, filter on Sorcerer, and anything you see the word S5, and this tier list is not accurate. Things have not been moved yet to where I think they're going to lie. I'll do a tier list. I'll just do the tier list right now. I'm thinking Firebolt may be top dog with Verathiel. It's going to be really strong. Blizzard's going to be very good with Blue Rose. Frozen Orb got an insane buff from it might even overtake Blizzard from the new Fractured Winterglass. I'm not sure where Chain Lightning is going to end up because the unique was a little bit bugged during the PTR, and so we got to see how the bug changes pan out and how much better it was than because it was a little underwhelming. Arc Lash with Verathiel may make its way into S tier. It was really good, very strong. New changes to the flickering node. They give it 50% more damage against bosses. Ball Lightning's Ball Lightning. It's probably going to be great. Um, the new splintering. I don't know if this is going to be S or A tier, but it looked really good. It was very good on the PTR, but it did have a little bit some boss damage struggles. The discrepancy between how well it mobbed and bossed was large. Fireball and Meteor, I'd put them about the same. They both got pretty crazy buffs and huge changes to the uniques in Starfall, Illuminators, and Staff of Endless Rage. They look great. Charge Bolts, it got buffed a lot, 50%, and Lam Essen did get buffed a lot, but the unique effect still is not on par with the Staff of Endless Rage unique effect in providing more damage, so I slotted a little bit lower, but I think it's going to be really good, and I think Charge Bolts also has some play if you want to run it with Endarials. That's because it's got really good lucky hit. It's really good at proccing Endarials, so that's a thing. Ice Shards, I think it's going to sit comfortably in B. It doesn't have any game-changing uniques for it. It got the buffs that the rest of the skills got, so I don't think it's gonna jump way higher than it was, and this is sort of where it is now, so I think it stays. Pure Firewall, I think it's going to be somewhat viable and actually pretty good if you don't want to do the whole Firebolt business. Got huge buffs, Burning got buffs, Incinerate got buffs, looks really amazing. And then there's gonna, with the new Oculus, there's some teleport stuff. Teleport damage could be a little bit of a meme, but definitely like a speed farming thing. Um, and just overall really good for Hell Tides, really fun. Probably does okay boss damage. And then Hydra's looking really good. Ideally, the tier list looks something like this with maybe Chain Lightning up here. I'm not totally sure, but we're not sure how this is going to be, and we'll have to see how the new Hydra got buffs, Burning got buffs, and as well, Hydra's got a lot more. It can get 16 heads now, 14 on the tempers. It's got a lot more kick to it. I think it's going to do really good boss damage, and then you have all these really fat Hydra damage tempers. I think you spec full burn summoned Hydra. I think it's going to be really good, but it still has AoE issues, but you can kind of solve that with Fireball and Champ. All right, so let's go into the patch notes. We'll start off with Starless. Starless got Giga buffed. It's still, 50% damage, 50% resource cost. It's got core skills, crit strike chance, and attack speed now. Let's sort of look over here. Okay, we can look at it now. So this what I'm selected on right now is the attack speed for Starless Skies. Minimum 25 attack speed, maximum 35, 38 attack speed. That's with 3 crits, no GA. And then this is the greater affix section, minimum 34, max 47. That's some crazy attack speed. Let's look at the crit chance. Non-GA, minimum 18.1, maximum 27.5. Then if we're looking at GA, we have minimum 24.4, maximum 33.8. So that's a lot of crit chance. And then Blue Rose 2, just a side note, it's got 16% crit chance, same with Illuminators. And then, some really good attack speed out of Endarials. The side note, up to 81, 3 GA triple crit, 66 with just triple crit. So that figures out your bucket. And then Fireball got a nice buff. So like if you have GA on this, you're looking around 33 to 40 attack speed, and that's second bucket. So that doesn't eat into your normal attack speed affixes. That's the bucket with accelerating and unstable currents and stuff. So that's really nice. All right. Doombringer looks really good. It's got a buff to its max life. It's got DR now. I see this as a comfy farming item, and you can get upwards of think it was 89% max life, and then it can add a Talrasha stack to sort of make up the damage loss a little bit, so that's fun. Uh, Lycander got nerfed into the ground. It lost all its good affixes. It lost all its good. It's lost all its good stuff and got replaced with fucking all stats and resist all elements and shit. I mean, I guess this is a fat amount of all stats. Like you can get a lot more int, but I don't know, dude. Grandfather got buffed. Yay for barbs. Selig got buffed. I don't care. No, we're still not going to use Selig. Don't ask me. Tyrell's Might now ignores the durability loss, and it got now has move speed, and your resistances are fully covered, which doesn't matter for us, but it's got max resist all elements. Biggest thing is the DR. So you can get 44% DR with a triple masterwork, or 54% if it's GA. This thing will be best in slot on basically every build isn't that doesn't want to use Raiment or doesn't really need a mana per second roll on chest. You're just gonna take it. It's crazy. And Dariel's, it lost its life steal, which was always a little bit weird, but it's got life on hit now, which is okay for sorcerer because we have low life. And now it's got 30% attack speed, and as I was showing earlier, in Dariel's, it can go to 66 or it can go to 81. That's like if you have 81 here, you only need one attack speed to fix like on your gloves, and then you're done with attack speed. All right, so let's look at Shaco. It lost resource gen and all stats, and it gained armor and max resource. I don't like the loss of resource gen, whatever, but this now covers all your armor needs for sorcerer. Slot on Shaco, you don't have to worry about it. You can run uniques on your helmet, chest, and pants. And now, like, it's got the 20% cooldown, which can go to 44 or 54. So this, this is a huge boon to unique staffs that lose the cooldown roll off focus, and it frees up your amulet from not really needing to run cooldown. You can just run Harlequin, and once you get all your masterworks and stuff, like you're pretty set. All right, Tibalt's Will. The fixes are a little bit better now. It's got DR while unstoppable, which is nice, especially if you combine it with Snowveiled, but you may run into some issues not being able to re-proc the resource gen if you need it, because you have to wait for yourself to become you have to wait for yourself to become stoppable so that you can reapply unstoppable. It's the application of unstoppable, which doesn't work if you're currently in an unstoppable state. I digress. Mother's Embrace got buffed. Still going to salvage it. X-Fails is a little bit weird. They took away the cooldown and they gave it vulnerable damage. I wish they had taken away the damage over time and gave it vulnerable damage and cooldown and like a larger vulnerable damage roll, because I don't know. This thing's direct damage. You're using dot to proc it, and then it's direct damage. So you kind of want affixes that can scale both. That can scale both. So I don't really like the damage over time, and I don't know why. It has such a low lucky hit chance roll, and the all stats is whatever, but this damage over time really should be cooldown, and this vulnerable roll should be higher. I think X-Fails is sort of dead in the water. Azarath, I think, we're not going to use this. I don't really like it. It's got a low attack speed roll, it's got all stats, and it's got cold resist. I don't see this being used. Banished Lords isn't really for us, but it's got +2 ranks to core skills now, which is nice. Attack speed and max life. It lost this crit chance, but we don't use this because we don't have enough max life to actually like really benefit from overpower. All right, Penitent Greaves. I can see these being really fun for farming on like Frozen Orb instead of Asu's Heirloom. It's got better fixes now. You get the evade for 2 seconds and you're unhindered, and it's now 25% damage to all chilled or frozen enemies, and then chill slow potency and whatever. But yeah, these things are fun and they look kind of cool. So I could see these being a little bit of a downgrade from Asu's Heirloom, but still really fun and good for farming, especially if you combine them with like the new Frostburns that look a little cheeky. You just have some fun, man. It's a short season. Flicker Steps are sort of out of the meta for Sorc. We don't really benefit from the ultimate damage, and we can just use the aspect of Orange Herald now to reduce our ult cooldown. Yen's Blessing lost their DR, and they gained resource gen and some resist. I don't know. I could see these may make their way into some firebolt builds as like a cheeky way to cheese having flame shield up all the time, or almost up all the time. It's every 8 seconds, so you could probably get flame shield to a 6-second You could probably get Flame Shield to a 6-second or even higher now. I don't know. I digress. People are going to do some dumb shit with Yens where they have like a really small gap in their Flame Shield, and that's going to be that. Soulbrand is looking okay. I don't. It basically lost a lucky hit chance with barrier, and it got potion capacity, and then they buffed the rest of the stuff. But it's a 30%. It might not even be working right now, but this is basically for incinerate before you get materials, because you can potion and keep your storm swell and keep your barrier up while you're channeling, and you don't have to, you know, break the channel to get another barrier. That's its whole purpose. Fist of Fate got a huge buff, but the ranges are really crazy. The biggest thing is the lucky hit chance. Very high value, very good. It's a 50% damage on average from this unique effect. It's got decent crit chance and attack speed, but the ranges are so high, it's really, you're going to need to get really lucky on these. You're going to need, preferably you just want them GA, so they're max times 1.5, and you're going to need, you basically need a 300%. So these, you're going to have to, people are going to pull out their credit cards and buy these. Frostburns, they look honestly not terrible. Like, they have attack speed now, fire and cold damage, a lucky hit chance to deal damage. I can see these being fun on like an ice shards or a frozen orb build, just like if you're messing around farming, um, or you like don't have any good gloves yet. These are just like fun. They're just like a fun little item. They're cheeky. All right, Pain Gorgers got +4 to basics now, which is really nice. It lost its crit chance, which is fine because Pain Gorgers doesn't really benefit from crit. I don't know on these. I don't know if I'm going to use these on Arclash anymore, because I'm sort of specking, because Arclash, with the way that Verse Mastery really wants high crit chance now, and like you can get a lot of damage out of it, I just don't see that much value in the Echo, because it doesn't scale with crit, and now you want so much crit because of Verse. I don't know. I think these are sort of now relegated to like Barbs. Godslayer, it's the same thing. It's Godslayer, man. If you want to nuke a boss and kill it really quickly, so you can make a video and say how good your build is because it killed Duriel, you can run these. And this is an okay thing to run before you get Shaco. It's fine. 15% damage on average. Nice pull. Temerity, it's looking pretty good. DR while healthy, some percentage max life, chance to heal. We'll see. Temerity could have some play if the warmth, the newly buffed warmth passive, ends up like healing you beyond 100% life. I don't know. So, Temerity could be like just auto slot for farming and stuff like that, because I need to go in live and I need to test if warmth procs Temerity. All right, Task the Dawning Sky, still terrible. All right, let's move on to Fractured Winterglass. This thing's crazy. It lost its cooldown reduction, but that doesn't matter because Shaco has such high now. It's got a high non-physical damage, which is really nice because it lets you drop Enchanter off your boards, because this covers it to hit that 300% with cold for Frigid Fate. Chance for Forb projectiles to cast twice, very good. Eases up and makes it easier. You just get a lot more Frozen Orbs, very nice. I predicted, now that I'm looking at the chance for Frozen Orb projectiles to cast twice too, and these conjuration cooldowns are reduced by 3.3 seconds, you'll get a lot more spears out from hard casts. You're going to be able to get 10 ranks to Conj Mastery now, plus 3 from the skill tree, that's 13. We used to only be able to get 8. Orb, it's like 300, 400, 500% better than it was before. So you're going to have like, 3 to 5 times more damage on Frozen Orb. And then, it could get even, I don't know. I can't really do the math with it because it's so hard with the chance for it to make a conjuration got buffed to 65 from 50. The lucky hit got buffed from 70 to 90 to make a Frozen Orb. TLDR, this thing is giga juiced now. So if you didn't play Frozen Orb last season, and like you're interested in it, now is the time to play it. Last season wasn't the time to play it. Last season was the time to play Firebolt. But this season, Blizzard Frozen Orb's looking really good. Asu's Heirloom are really nice. It's got a huge buff to the crit strike damage, little rework to the elite move speed, longer duration, less move speed, sort of irrelevant. It lost its mana cost reduction, which is annoying because we don't really need resist all elements. But it's now a 40% bonus, and this is really, really strong on builds that make a lot of conjurations because of Conj Mastery. You're permanently capped at your 200% move speed. So these are just great. It's just, it lowers the crit requirement that you need to get on builds down to 60, so it just makes it more forgiving to build. Raymond's nice. It got int. It's got 2 ranks to glass cannon now, so it upgrades a bit better. And then 2 to elemental attunement, which is it'll reset your defensives. That's whatever. 2 to shocking impact. Okay, that's fine. But yeah, the raiment looks really good. The unique effect didn't change. The unique effect didn't change. But Helltide, and I think I have this on Firebolt. It's a little speed farming item. You're fine. I don't really like it in pushing that much. All right. So Illuminators got some nice crit strike chance and Fireball attack speed. The Fireball ATS is second bucket, so it doesn't compete with like the attack speed that normally get. So this is in the bucket with unstable currents and accelerating. That second bucket that we're normally only able to really get to like 50 or 80%, something like. Anyways, it's really nice, and it generates mana now when Fireball explodes. It's bouncing a lot, and then Staff of Endless Rage is making more fireballs. Fireball casts twice chance. It's going to generate a lot of mana. It's going to solve a lot of problems. Combine this with Starless, you're Gucci, good to go. Ranks the Fireball, and the biggest thing now is it's basically, compared to what it was in the past, it's basically like it has a damage aspect now, because instead of losing 20% damage, you were dealing 80% damage that you could have before. It's now like it has a 25% conceded damage aspect on it because it's taking you back to 100%. So it's really nice. Flameweaver got buffed. The firewall size is pretty nice. It's a bit of a quality of life thing. It's going to be easier and less clunky to use because your firewalls are bigger. It's got attack speed, +2 to all your pyro skills, so it scales your basic and your firewall, which is fine. And chance for firebolt to cast twice. And the biggest thing here is now it's 100%, so you're going to deal 300% damage when it goes through instead of 210% in the past, so that's about a 46% buff. Starfall, huge changes to Meteor. Very large intelligence roll. Meteor size, we'll take it, that's great. It's not a throw affix, like Lucky Hit Chance sort of used to be, even though that helped Meteor enchant. Still has its cooldown, and it's now got that +60 Meteor, which can go to 16 ranks when GA and Triple Masterworked. It's now on a 4-second cooldown, so it's more forgiving and it's less crazy with the CDR requirements, and it's got 2 charges, so it's going to be super good now. I think it's amazing. It's a huge buff to Meteor, and that's why I slotted Meteor in A tier. Iceheart Brace, I don't know. I'm going to laugh when some Firebolt Shatter build reemerges with Iceheart because of this like GA Triple Masterwork Shatter damage echo. But it sucks that it lost the TR and they gave it cold resist, but it's got a huge Frost Nova size. This thing is just going to be a really fun like Helltide or farming item on some Frost builds. Blue Rose is crazy. Ideally, you're going to want to have GA on Ice Spikes to explode twice and 3 Masterworks there. That'll take you to about a 95% chance for Ice Spikes to explode twice. So essentially that alone is double damage. And then we talk about, you're going to get 16% crit chance out of here. You're going to get, it's like 500% ice spike damage, 270 or whatever. So it's like 200, it's like 750% additive from these alone when this thing's fully masterworked. When Sorc normally only gets 1500% additive, so that's like 50% more damage. This item alone, it's like times 2. It's like it makes Blizzard like 2 or 2.5, 3 times as strong as it was before because of this. It's like 3 times as strong, if not more. It's crazy. Very good. Just trying to do math in my head. It gets annoying with percentages. And then this Lucky Hit Chance, whatever. This thing's whatever. It's 4,200 damage now. It doesn't go off that much, but it does go off, especially on frozen enemies when you're mobbing. Like Blizzard doesn't have good Lucky Hit, but it does go off. It's fine. This is the biggest thing, is the chance for Ice Spikes to explode twice. Tal Rasha goes up to 80%, so this is really good on builds like Splintering, or I think I have this on Meteor, because now you can get 80% damage out of it. It still has cooldown. The ranks to Potent Warding or whatever, and it's got a big non-physical damage roll. I don't like that it lost its resource gen for some builds, but it's okay. Tal Rasha is really good, but for most spender builds that I'm making, I'm not using it because I want a legendary ring for the attack speed, and I want the new Starless for the crazy attack speed. So everyone sees the 80% and they just like go crazy with it, but just like it was this season, we had it at 60% something. Going from 60 to 80 is only a 12.5% actual damage increase. I don't know. I think you can get similar value. I don't know. I hope this thing doesn't end up being like must slot and must get, but I don't think it will. But it's very good now. Flame Scar is actually. I'm gonna try and make this really quick. So it is if you get a GA incinerate ranks and you masterwork it 3 times and it's perfect at 16 ranks to incinerate, it will basically rival flamethrower on a staff in conflagration on an amulet because you'll have the 16 ranks from flamescar, you move flamethrower onto the amulet, and you move conflagration onto the focus. It will be somewhat equivalent to a flamethrower staff, and it's even got this lucky hit chance to deal fire damage. It's got life on hit. Okay, that's not terrible. So this thing is legit. You're just like, I, you can try it, but the staff will probably be easier to build, and you are gonna like the damage is pretty equivalent when it comes to the multipliers, um, but the staff still sort of has a slight edge on it because of all the fire damage over time temper and the damage over time that it can get on it. Like it's just more raw additive. That's nice. But I think at first glance I thought this thing was still terrible, but then I did like a little bit of digging and some math, and it's pretty it's I don't know, it's comparable to a staff. Oculus is going to be really good on those teleport builds. It's still got its great implicits. It's got int now, which is amazing, and it's got a huge teleport damage roll. Like I don't even know, 650 times 1.5, 1500% teleport damage, huge teleport nova size, plus 12 to teleport. You run this with like some metamorphosis boots, and you're really talking about some really fun, cool teleport builds that might be somewhat viable. It's just the boss damage is TBD. Staff of Endless Rage, huge buff. Fire damage, big int roll, fireball, projectile speed, which in the video that they showcased, I'm sorry I don't have it. It was really nice. It looked a lot smoother and a lot like less slow to play. And fireball was already fun because it was kind of fast, especially with Ancient Flame and its cast speed. Now it's got basically for free, without any investment, Masterworks GA. You need 69% chance, and you will get 100% chance for fireball projectiles to cast twice, and it can get the 16 ranks to fireball. Every third cast, it launches 2 more projectiles that deal 90% increased damage, and then it synergizes with the Illuminator's mana per fireball explosion, so that you can just generate a shit ton of mana. Staff of Endless Rage is and Illuminators already was, but Endless Rage is now de facto like must slot on fireball. Lamb Essen, I think it's very strong. I think you sort of could get away with running Wand Focus on Charge Bolts, but I think it's just easier and more fun to run Lamb Essen. Like the unique effect leaves a little bit to be desired. It's nice, but it's not like Endless Rage where it like adds a bunch of damage. It's more of like a utility thing, and it does add damage and help when mobbing. But I think that's why I have it in B tier and I have Fireball in A tier, just because the unique effect isn't it's leaving something more to be desired. It needs a little bit more. It needs some damage or something. But you get the 16 ranks to charge bolts. It's got a huge resource cost reduction roll, and that's really good because because charge bolts doesn't generate crackling like the other lightning skills do to like pick up mana off the ground and regen. So that's really nice. I think they actually listened to some of my feedback about Lamesson having issues because it can't make as much crackling as the other builds. And then 69, 100% chance for charge bolt projectiles to cast twice if you get a 69% roll and a large int. I'm excited about that. Asador's overflowing cameo. I don't know. This thing's weird. I still don't think crackling energy builds are going to be super viable, but I think you may be surprised at how well they do. But they're not going to be. It ain't no S tier build, but this thing isn't terrible now. It's a little bit better. It's got huge crackling energy damage roll and this kind of nice DR component of it. But this 15% chance to release the Lightning Nova, these values are scuffed, but it still doesn't go off enough as much as you would like, so it's whatever. All right, let's look at. Let me find my little Word doc. There we go. All right, let's get back up. I'm going to try and go through these pretty quickly. But these are the skill percentage buffs. Chain Lightning got a 20%. Charge Bolt 50%. Splintering we were confused, but I did math. It's the same as it was. It's still good. Ball lightning got 20%. Spark got 20%. Arc lash got a 50% buff to boss damage and basically, mobbing damage because of the flickering node. Ice shards, the reason why I slotted it a little lower, it didn't get as big of a buff as everything else, and again, it doesn't have a unique. That really brings it up a lot. Frozen Orb got 22%, and then the Winter Class changes. It's going to be crazy. They buffed the Blizzard dot damage, which is basically negligent. Not yeah, negligible. Negligible. There it is. Not applicable. 'Cause it's all the ice spike damage. Fireball got a 10% buff when combined with Illuminators and Endless Rage. Very nice. Meteor got a 20% buff combined with Starfall. Very nice. Incinerate another 20%. Hydra, it got buffed by 14%, and then the 67% increase to the summon Hydra, the burn. So burn's the way to go on Hydra. And Firewall itself got a 44% buff. So I could see some, just like some standard pure Firewall builds being somewhat okay. And this is a huge boon for the PvP players. They're probably very excited. Crown of Lucion got gutted into the ground. It lost its core skill damage. It lost its core ranks and it got shadow res, and I don't know exactly what happened with the other fixes, but now you get 75% damage out of it, but the resource cost goes to 150%. It used to be 125, 125, now it's 75, 150. It's very punishing. I could see this thing definitely, like once you're min-max, this thing is probably still best in slot for damage, but it's just probably going to be kind of terrible to play. The Verathiel, still very nice. Still has good affixes, and it only got nerfed down to 200%, which is totally fine because 300% was way too much. But they didn't do my boy dirty. It's still good. Rakanoth Wakes are still pretty good. I think I run these on Incinerate, but they look fine. They got a huge non-fizz damage roll. They got cooldown. They're fine if your build doesn't need crit chance from Asus and it doesn't need mastery ranks on the boots. Lokrin's Talisman, it's 40% crit chance, and then you can get some multiplicative crit strike damage out of it. But this isn't a Sorc unique. This is like a Necro or Barb unique. We don't need this. We want our we want our Death Blaze, or we want our Conch Mastery. We do not want to give this up. We can get more damage out of a regular amulet, and we don't have problems getting high crit strike chance. And we can't get as much mana as some of the other classes because our Paragon doesn't have as much, so it's no value for us. Wild Bolt, it's backed out at 10%. It was 30% for a second. I don't know. This thing's okay. I don't have it on any builds. I had Creeping Death. For a second, they changed this value to 50%, and they changed this value either 40 or 50%, and they changed this value to 150%, and then they doubled back and just went back to what it was. I don't really like this aspect. I think Sorcerer just has aspects it can use over this. It doesn't need it. I think it was going to be too OP on Necro and Rogue, though, especially Rogue, so they put it back down. Axial Conduit, I'm not totally sure. I think this value is correct. There's a bit of a discrepancy. It's 600% skill damage, so I don't exactly know what that equates to, because 55% equates to I don't know. We'll see. It's weird. I don't know if this is the exact value it's going to end up being, because it used to be 22,000. I'm not sure, but they fixed an issue where it did not benefit from Greater Chain Lightning, the 30% damage node on CL. Issue where it was dealing much less damage than intended, and an issue where your bonus chain, your chance for Chain Lightning to cast twice didn't factor into its Chain Lightning count. That is the whole mini game where it counts your Chain Lightning, drains mana, and then explodes. So this thing is probably going to do more damage and go off a lot more, and it's got really amazing affixes like DR, Resource Gen, and I think that's and maximum resource generation and maximum. So that's a ton of mana. It's got +3 to Chain Lightning, and then Chain Lightning cast twice. So CL could very well make its way into S tier, and this TLDR, this works out to about 40% damage on bosses and CC'd enemies all the time. You can put this on your amulet, and because of this wording here, where Axial Conduit does now benefit from the end nodes of Chain Lightning, that it's also going to benefit from Lightning Rod. So that was a question that I had. And then, as I said way earlier, Orange Herald is a really good replacement. It makes Flicker Steps not needed. It sort of solves the issue that Ball Lightning had, where it kind of wanted flickers so that it could have UC up all the time. But it couldn't slot it because it needed ranks on boots. So you just put these here, and you basically have flicker steps. If you put this aspect on boots, you have flicker steps with ball lightning ranks. So it's very nice. I don't really need to go over this, but Arclash got a chance for it to swipe twice, and they made the shock augments. They moved some stuff around, so it's less cancerous to temper. Hydra got the Hydra heads on cast, and this is kind of nice here. I think I have this. I have one of these on Blizzard, and one temper of this on Blizzard, and one temper of this on Splintering. Chance for another Lightning Spear to cast, so that's nice. These are not relevant, not really needed. If they're utility, maybe you'll take it on Frozen Orb. Who knows? Maybe the Lightning Spear lucky hit chance could be okay, but I don't know. That could actually end up being the play over like lucky hit chance to freeze tempers. So we'll see. Um, you can always whatever. All right, these are some random passives for crowd control. It's whatever, and then conduction, movement. That's stupid. And then ice armor duration. That's okay if you don't have any defensives to take. But I think ranks to warmth is going to be the default for, because that got buffed to the moon. Vox Omnium. I still think it's sort of underwhelming. It does have really good affixes, I will say, but I don't think you get enough value out of this. I don't know. Unless you can figure out some burning build that can find a way to have it always create firebolts, because Frostbolt and Spark are a little bit lackluster. They don't have good end nodes, really, especially Frostbolt. And most of the cooldowns on your bar are shock and ice, so those are going to be what you're spawning the most, because the only thing that this can make is if you cast Flame Shield, or if you cast Hydra, then it makes firebolts. But it's a core skill, so like a Hydra build couldn't even use this. I'm not really sold on these. I don't really know what their purpose is. This doesn't work on bosses. I guess the whole idea with these is maybe get a Tal Rasha stack out of them and not have to have a shock, frost, or fire damage in your build, but I don't know. That's just not the way Sorc's being built right now, really. Like, we figure it out. So the only one that looks okay is Jolting. This damage counts as a shock skill. Someone was speculating that this could work with Unstable Currents, and like when it goes off, it counts as like a shock cast, but I'm not sold on this. I don't think it's worth giving up a damage aspect for. And then Firestarter is really weird because it only applies once when you first make an enemy burning. So like this will work once on a boss and then probably never work again. So, and then last but not least, Lightning Spear stuff. The enhanced Lightning Spear wasn't working properly. That's where you cast Lightning Spear and it spawns double casts. That wasn't working properly. And then maybe they fixed an issue. I don't know. Maybe Northwar knows something I don't. Northwar was saying, he was like, somebody told me that Northwar thought a Frozen Orb could do a Pit 190, and maybe it's because of this. Because maybe you will get up to. I don't think, no chance that we do a Pit 190, and like no chance in hell. But maybe Enhanced Lightning Spear was supposed to be working with like Unstable Current Lightning Spear casts or Frozen Orb Lightning Spear casts. I don't think so. That would be too OP. And then it was getting more crit chance than intended, but whatever. But so just to wrap up, this is sort of how I'm viewing this season. Firebolt on top, Blizzard, Frozen Orb, Chain Lightning, and then Arc Lash, Ball Lightning, Splintering, Fireball, Meteor, like not that very far behind. I think we're going to see another season where Sorcerer has a pretty tight band, and then I think Firebolt, just because of Verathiel and how, and then they buffed Flameweaver, buff Combustion, just how strong burning damage is. Like I think Firebolt may pull ahead just a bit from the rest of them, but we don't know because like the Blue Rose buff and the Winter Glass buff and Axial got fixed. They're going to be pretty strong, but Firebolt may just pull ahead of everything, but I don't think it's going to be Shatter anymore. I think it's just going to be straight Combustion for burning damage. Everything else looks pretty good. Like I'm pretty cool with this. I think this will end up my final tier list. I slot Charge Bolts and Ice Shards a little bit below the rest just because they didn't get as much love as the rest of them. And then this stuff in A tier is subject. Some of these, like these two specifically, are subject. Arc Lash and Lightning Spear may make their way into like S- tier. I don't know fully. We gotta see what's bugged. We gotta see the interactions, how everything feels, the damage we end up getting, how hard pits are, how hard infernal hordes are. But that's it for me, guys. And again, check out Mobalytics, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you don't know what to play, where is it? If you don't know what to do, you can always just cast Fireball. Just cast Fireball, and enjoy the Rickroll. All right, see you guys. Peace.